Berserk is a tribulation-filled epic, overflowing with character and aesthetic, fully submerged in the deep, dark depths of quality. Berserk eclectically runs the emotional palette, eliciting reactions in both audience and character of strong love, acidic hate, ardent envy, bitter jealousy, heavenly elation, and utter despair. It explores the corrupting and motivating influence of one's insecurities, one's dream, one's vengeance. The torment brought about by trauma and wounds inflicted by others, and the healing of those very wounds. Berserk reflects what it means to be human, and perhaps what disqualifies someone from that seemingly inherent moniker. It's a sprawling story, vast in setting and characters. It features immaculate art direction, stunning imagery, and culminates in a product whose resonance is unmatched in this and every other medium. Berserk is not just one of the greatest manga stories ever told, but one of the greatest stories ever. Berserk also opens on an edgy sex scene, the main character thrusting into a woman, who then grows demonic tendrils and an extra mouth with pointy teeth. He then murks the seductive monster after delivering a bad action movie one-liner. "The only one trapped is you, bitch!" Hell yeah, brother. A lot has been said over the years, maybe even over the decades, about Berserk's opening few pages. The depiction of Guts having sex with an apostle, seemingly getting entrapped, only to reveal that he's really the one in control and blow it away, albeit off screen so we can save the reveal for what exactly his arm contraption does for the climax of the chapter, then walk off like nothing ever happened, is at the very least a striking one. Though generally when the community reflects on it, it is negatively, which has led to me wanting to ask the question, what is particularly wrong with this opening scene? Potential issue 1. Guts doesn't like to get touched, yet in these opening pages and in the act of fornication, there's a lot of touching. What's up with that? Isn't that a bit of a contradiction? A bit of a plot hole? This complaint is usually bolstered by the searing undertone of potential retconning that lurks over a lot of early Berserk, but this doesn't really hold up to any scrutiny in this instance. It is true that this is seemingly a contradiction. Guts as a kid, due to his past with sexual violence, does not like to be touched. And this followed him into his early adulthood until it is seemingly gotten over towards the end of the Golden Age arc with Casca. He then reverted back to not liking being touched after the eclipse due to his new traumas. This scene takes place in this second period of trauma. Later in this very chapter, this is on display when Guts is in jail and Puck arrives to heal him, touching him in the process, which makes Guts freak out. The explanation for why Guts is allowing himself to be touched in the opening few pages here seems to be simply that his lust for vengeance overcomes this want to not be touched by others. In service of this mission, he allowed the touching and the coitus to draw out the apostle form of the woman so he could kill it. This is a good enough explanation by itself, but I also think it goes a little deeper. It's not the touching that Guts doesn't like, it's the touching he's not prepared for that he doesn't like. Every time we see Guts get touched and freak out, it's someone grabbing him or touching him from behind, which is reminiscent of the origin of his trauma. This fear is also what drives his paranoia to sleep with a sword, so no one can get the jump on him again. That's why he's defensive in all these scenarios. But if he sees it coming, or he himself is prepared for it, it doesn't seem like too big of a deal to him. Like in this scenario where he's clearly got everything planned out. Potential issue 2. Guts wouldn't cheat on Casca even if it was to catch an apostle off guard and kill it. Seems out of character. I disagree with this one too and totally buy Guts going to these lengths to hunt down an apostle. This is during Guts' Black Swordsman phase, possibly the darkest in his life. This era of Guts' life is all about regression and how far he's fallen from who and what he was towards the back end of the Golden Age arc. He had grown to have friends, allies, a lover, and a purpose, only for the eclipse to ruin it all. And for him to spiral back down to depravity, with a single mission of vengeance keeping him going. He's deteriorated in every way except for in his fighting prowess and ability to kill demonic creatures. This is Guts at his most lost. And I totally buy him being willing to be seduced by this woman apostle in this way in order to kill her. Again, a major theme when Guts returns to Goto's hut after burning out of his Black Swordsman phase is him being punished for neglecting Casca all this time, as she's wandered off, possibly never to be seen again. This would only play further into that thematically. Potential issue 3. What's with the one-liner? Guts would never. Seems a little out of character to me. I think a lot of people's recollection of Guts is of him as this large, sullen, quiet, brooding man in the corner, who in a fight lets out his mass amount of vengeful rage. It's very much not this guy with his corny, braggy action movie one-liner. This is all well and good, but Guts, even long after this, is no stranger to corny action movie one-liners, as he uses them relatively frequently throughout the story, and ultimately this isn't out of character at all. Guts is a multifaceted character who is goofy and even chauvinistic sometimes, which sometimes leads to a one-liner or two, and while they've always kind of irked me a little, it's undeniably part of his character. Potential issue 4. This scene adds nothing to the plot. It's completely unnecessary. The chapter could have just opened with what immediately happens after, with Guts walking into town. We hate plot bros around these parts. I disagree fundamentally with saying that things that are not plot relevant are not necessary or don't add anything to stories, but outside of this, there's possible disagreements even accepting the premise. This is the apostle that killed Caucus, so in retrospect, this moment is a payoff to his death in a way, just like the Count's death is a payoff to Pippin's later on. Also, in terms of internal chapter structure, we do cut away from the action to the aftermath, after Guts puts his mechanical hand in the Apostle's mouth here, which builds up the reveal of Guts' arm cannon later in the chapter, when we see it go boom on the Snake Baron. So it adds a payoff to a future character's death in retrospect, and adds intrigue to the chapter before the climax, with the reveal of how capable Guts is of fighting monsters later on. Now for the real issue. All this kinda seems silly in the actual context of this discussion, because the actual reason this opening is reflected on negatively has nothing to do with any of these complaints or their potential counter-arguments or the substance of anything being argued with here. It is all derived from the only thing that matters: emotion. This sexy, scary opening is a bit cringe, isn't it? And that's the issue. The opening monologue of this video kinda sums it up. People brag about Berserk endlessly, and it's been rather successful. Berserk has a fearsome reputation for its quality. It is widely considered the best manga there is. It commands respect in the wider anime/manga community. It's this rich, deep, touching story that some people say is life-changingly inspiring, and these opening few pages are almost the antithesis of that to the wider public. It's embarrassingly edgy. Opening on a sex scene is sleazy enough. Then we've got weird monsters. That's a little lowbrow, huh? What is this, a kid's show or something? Then there's this weird action movie one-liner with a swear in it. And there's this too cool for school edgy protagonist all dressed in black. This seems like by the numbers trash. It's not emblematic at all of what people rave about Berserk for. This general negativity is probably born out of a defensiveness to having Berserk be dismissed by somebody starting fresh, expecting a lot. It's you showing your friend that super funny video, except it opens on a very unfunny moment. This opening scene kind of ends up being a perfect microcosm for a lot of the general conversation surrounding the Black Swordsman arc as a whole. It's not representative of what makes Berserk great, things kind of feel off, it's a little too edgy at times, the characters don't act quite right all the time, etc, etc. All this has led some people to encourage others to just skip the arc outright, like I'm sure most people would encourage others to skip this opening scene outright. All of Berserk's adaptations, with the exception of episode 1 of the 1997 anime, have seemingly agreed with this. The Black Swordsman arc hasn't gotten much adaptation at all, and no Berserk thing has ever opened on this scene of Guts with the Apostle Woman, and I don't think any future adaptation will either, whether it be a future anime project, or a fan-made anime project, or even an eventual live-action show. And I don't think the audience would complain much about it either, nor do I think I really would. It's kind of a wacky opening, I'm not gonna lie. So in the end, are Berserk's opening pages defensible? Yeah, kinda, but no one really cares, because they make us look bad and stupid, and we don't like that. We're cowards, concerned with what other people think about us, and our favoritist manga. Opening page is bad, needlessly edgy garbage. P.S. Netflix, when you get the rights, give me a call, I'll write it.